Hello friends, my name is Ken Lane speaking here, and this is going to be a demonstration of the CityStrides website. Specifically, this is how I plot my routes for running every single street in the city of Tulsa. You can run any city using CityStrides. It uses data that is collected by the Open Street project, as well as, well, some other different mapping systems. But it is a very handy way to figure out what streets you've run, what streets you need to run, and what percentage of a city you have run so far. So right now we're looking at Tulsa. You see these blue boundary lines show the city limits and different parts of the city that are excluded from being considered city limits or accessible, say like the Tulsa International Airport, different sections of railway, different things like that that aren't technically within city limits, I believe. I'm not really sure exactly how that much, or just the boundaries of town. The blue lines signify where I've been as plugged in from past run data. You can hook in your different systems such as Strava, Garmin. There are a handful of other systems that you can hook into, and it grabs the GPX files from your past runs and plots them on here. So you can actually see exactly when you've run them to if you were to hover over the system like this. Today I'm going to show you how I usually go about using the route builder or route builder, depending on your pronunciation of this, in the system. This is a paid feature of CityStrides. CityStrides is usually free for everyone if you want to set up a free account, but there are some paid features that I find worth it. They're only about $5, so if you're engaged in a project like this, very much worth it. It goes out to James Chevalier, I believe that's his name. It's a one-man development team for CityStrides, so thank you very much to him for creating this wonderful platform for us to use. I'm going to show you some of my tactics for making efficient routes. I can't promise that I'm going to be able to make the most efficient route right off the bat, but we'll see what we can do, and I'll show you some tricks that I enjoy, and I'll show you how these controls work. So first, you're going to want to actually be using the city listing of here rather than just a view of your map. The reason for that is because it's going to show you these city limits boundary lines, and that will make it to where you're not plotting a route in a place that doesn't actually count towards that city. For instance, here, this is a city boundary line, which means actually maybe this road might count, but this road over here might be over in Sand Springs or something like that. Anyways, there are also several different views that you can have of a city. The white lines are where I've not been, but there are also some roads that aren't actually going to be considered runnable, or they might be private streets, it might be a gated community that you can't access, or someplace that's not safe. For an example, the South Cincinnati overpass would not be safe, and the way that you can tell if this is runnable or not is there, if you select this hourglass function here, not hourglass, magnifying glass function, you'll see these red dots appear where things are actually right now. I'd have to zoom out to get that to work because I've already run all of this. But if I zoom out about up here to where some spots where I haven't run, click this, you'll see some red nodes appear. And how you calculate how many streets you've run is if you have run through these particular nodes. And then once you have completed 90% of the nodes for that particular street, it is considered completed. That's on the standard mode anyways. Hard mode is 100%, but a lot of people just use it on the 90% because there's some parts of roads that are hard to access, or GPS data can get messed up, and it's not really your fault, and you can't really fix it very easily without going back and just running every single inch of every road and everything around it sometimes. It just kind of depends. But the nodes they will also only appear in the screen that you have open. So if I were to go out here, you won't see nodes out here until I reselect the magnifying glass, and then they'll appear. Okay, but today I've been running this section of Riverview right now. And some people, there's a lot of different tactics for running every single street of an area. Some people like to go really long and come back for trying to complete whole streets. I like to do things in clusters and kind of black it out a little bit more. So, as you've seen, I've been running here lately. Where's my route from today? It's something around here. Anyways, I'd kind of like to get this knocked out. Everything on this side of Southwest Boulevard, maybe 12th Street, maybe, but these here, so I can just consider that marked off and keep moving. You'll see that if you zoom in here, this is just kind of a regular, typical map. But what's really handy about CityStrides is that you can access a map that is a satellite image. So if you select the globe icon here in the upper right-hand corner, not this kind of world one, but the globe here, you'll see a zoomable satellite imagery map. What I'm usually looking for is a place to park my car. It's going to be my A and B point. It's going to be the beginning and the end. And I usually like to find big parking lots where I don't think people are going to mind me leaving my car there for about an hour or so and coming back to it. I find that churches are pretty hospitable when it comes to things like that. Or large medical facilities where people aren't using up all of the parking all the time. And of course, I like to try and keep it free. But the satellite view is the handiest for that, because if you deselect it, you don't even really know what this is. But if you do that, and nothing's listed that way too, but if you do satellite imagery, all of a sudden it says this is Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church. So I go, cool. So let me see where would be a good place to park, or at least start from. Let me zoom out a little bit to where I can see what this is, where I'd like to go, and where I hook up with the lines that the roads I've already ran, and where I think I might want to go. So I'm not sure if I want to extend into here yet, because 12th Street seems like it'll be very busy during the morning, and I usually like to save my very busy streets for Sundays when not a lot of people are out. So let's just start here. If I get to 12th Street, that's cool. Maybe not. I'm going to turn this off right here because it's kind of distracting to see absolutely everything going on. Well, let me first, I'm going to start up here at the very top here. To begin your route building or route building, you select the icon that looks like a S-shaped line with two beginning and end points, and that starts it up. The way this works is you can delete the whole thing here. You can remove your last steps here. You can fit it to view here. If you want to fit the whole thing, well, you actually have to start it up first before you do that. And this one kind of helps you navigate over spots that aren't just straight lines. Most of the time I leave this off. So I'm going to set my first point here on the top of 12th Street. And the nice thing about this route builder is that you don't really have to like draw the line. You can just tap, I need this line, I need this one here, and I need to make it all the way over to here. And it will just fill it in. Something like that. Sometimes I leave the nodes on, sometimes not. Just kind of depends if it's going to be sensitive. But let's see if we can find some good shapes that become efficient. Oops. So I'm going to undo that one. Bring this one down here. And I'm going to go in a zigzag pattern here. If I go up and over, up and over. Sometimes this becomes efficient. I actually find that it sometimes becomes efficient if I do that. Just kind of depends on how much time I have. I've actually made routes on site before if I didn't have time to plot them on a desktop. This works on mobile as well. Let's see. This one's routed on a sidewalk. Not a big deal. If you don't click precisely enough, sometimes it can put you on a sidewalk too, which can be helpful. I prefer to just mark the street and then decide where I'm going to run from there, if it's going to be a sidewalk or in the street. This one comes down here, and sometimes I lose track of where I am, so I have to hit this last one. Okay. Down Riverside. Come on, line. I think I'm doing too much. Okay. Up here, down here. Gotta make sure I connect with this line here. Back up Riverside here. And doing the zigzaggy route can work okay if you want to do x-axis, y-axis if you're on a grid. Sometimes it's handy just to do a very long line and roll with it. But it just depends on however you feel like it. But the system allows you to do that. Oops. I wanted to go, let's see. I'm already here, so maybe go up there, across here. And there's always the decision of, do I do the street closest to me, or do I do what might be more fluid on the ground? It is handy to hit the node button every once in a while, because I believe there's a node here that's not showing up. Yep. And these are going to be out and backs because these are dead ends. Another dead end here. And I'm already off to a funny start because it's not going to be an efficient route. Run here. I want this street too, so maybe I'll come up here and run it out here. Got that section of Southwest Boulevard. How far do I want to take it? I'll stay within the bounds of the highway. Just for good measure, maybe I'll step out a little bit and then go back in. Sometimes that can be a nice way of really shaving off a section. So, this here, and go down here. Well, not being that efficient. That's okay. Sometimes you'll spend more time trying to make the most efficient route, and you'll spend more time on that than you will even running the dang thing. So, and I'm going to see if I can. Oh, where did that come from? Okay. Let me get some more. Okay. So it's right here. That's what happens when you're inefficient. Tag up to here. This is going to be the least efficient route ever. Right now we're at a good 3.2 miles. Not looking too shabby, except for I have this big drag of Riverside Drive to hit. But for the sake of demonstration, I'll say that that's getting done. One thing to watch whenever you're doing this is that your A and B, your beginning and end points, aren't too close together. Which is fine for a GPX route, but if you're using a navigation app that gives you maybe turn-by-turn directions or something like that, and you start it up and your beginning and end are too close, you might run through your ending route and it could end your navigation. I've noticed this happen with several different apps. That's why I usually like to keep things about a block apart, or just once I get to this point, I'd probably be able to see my car and go back to my beginning. So now that I'm done, what I usually like to do for naming a route is I look at where this is going to start. This is at 12th and Guthrie. So for my name, I like to put 12th and Guthrie. I'll get the vibe of that. That'll tell me where to start. And then I like to put in how many miles it is as the name. And save. Now that's saved. And if you want to access your routes, you would go to your icons here. See, this will actually give you directions here if you just wanted to use those. If you want to access all of your routes, you can go to your drop down here routes. There we go. Takes me back to this, kind of where I was. If you want to download it, the GPX file, and input it into your navigation app, you can do that right here. And it'll show you which streets you're going to be working on and how many nodes are for each of those. And what else did it do? And that just syncs it too. So that's kind of a quick tutorial on how I usually go about plotting these. I'll plug this into a GPS navigation app, and that will start me off on my journey. This has been Ken showing you how it's done, or how I do it at least. Have a good one.